Hi there, John, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-Step System to Pass the TOEFL IBT. So, you say, I found lots of problems in taking notes. Summarize, synthesize, especially in paraphrase. So, any good tips, materials, sites, looking forward to receive them like always, effective from you. Thanks, John. Yes. What we need to do is let's deal with each of these areas so we can understand a little bit more about how we can improve. So first of all, taking notes. If we go to the website, I'm going to make a recommendation for you right now. I'm pretty sure you're one of my students right now. So if you go to step number 4, which is analyze your listening strengths and weaknesses, I think a great thing for you right now is lesson number 1. Lesson number 1 is note-taking. Note-taking, it'll give you some great tips on how you can use an abbreviated form of note-taking to help you catch the main points of the listening practices the listening passage that you're practicing. Once you've done that, I also recommend lesson number 2, understanding natural speech. That's a good lesson also. And then, this is when you practice here, John. So what I recommend is, I don't have scripts for all these lectures, but you can certainly listen to the practice test, take down all the notes you can, and then take the practice test when you're done, so you can use your notes to answer the question. And I think this is going to help you get a little bit more used to taking notes. But remember, for TOEFL, it's not just about taking notes in the listening passages. It's also important to take notes in the reading passages. So what do you do now? You go to step 5, learn effective reading strategies. This is the 5th section of my online TOEFL course. Again, the very first lesson, it gives you some instruction on note-taking, and specifically pre-reading, reading, and note-taking strategies. So, once you've done that, once you've gone through that lesson, then you can go through my speed reading practice test here. Again, like you did before, you can practice taking notes on the reading passages. But first, before you do that, I think it's a good idea first to take the test, take the speed reading test, really concentrate, then take the quiz. And then if you score 60 to 80% on that, you're okay. Then you can do some practice with note-taking. You see what I'm saying? So you have you have all kinds of opportunities to practice at my website. Okay, so summarize. Summarize is also useful. That means you're basically explaining the main and the most important supporting points of the reading and the listening passages that you're practicing. Now, I'll give you a tip. If you go to the writing part of my course, I think this is important for you now, is you need to do integrated writing practice tests. You need to start practicing some of these tests. And then you get feedback from me and to see how you do. Now, you should be taking notes on both the reading and the listening passages of these practice tests. Now, do you notice once you take the test, you'll also notice here on all 43 of my integrated writing practice tests, you can view the listening scripts. You see that? So what you can do here is you can practice taking notes on the reading, then compare your notes to the reading passage. You can also take notes in the lecture and then compare your notes to the listening script. So this is going to be very useful for you to help you with your note-taking. Do you see what I did? I went to one of the integrated writing practice tests right here, and you notice it says view the reading and the listening script. So you can actually see them right here. So that's going to help you with your summarizing, right? Synthesizing gets a little more complicated. Synthesizing means you're now combining ideas from the reading passage and the lecture. Now, the only way you can do this is to be organized. So here's where I recommend when you're doing some of my integrated writing practice tests, and also when you complete the TOEFL IBT, during the writing section, and even during the speaking section for this matter. My recommendation, right here, draw a line through a sheet of paper. Right? On the left side you'll put R. On the right side you will put T. That means topic. I mean not T, you want to put L. So you should state the main point of the reading here, and then the main point of the listening passage here, and then try to catch, typically there's usually 3 key points in the reading passage. Try to get those down in notes. Same thing here. Once the lecture starts, you need to get down those points. Now, the only way you can do this is you have to start combining information from the reading and the listening passages, which means you have to have pretty good vocabulary. Right? So here I'm going to give you some recommendations. I'm going to go to my website, to the grammar part of my course. I'm going to show you some lessons that can help you learn how to combining ideas from reading and listening passages. How do you do that, right? So if you're not sure how to do it and you need some practice, because if you're synthesizing, you have to combine information from the reading passage and the lecture. Okay, this one, lesson number 5, it's not very long, but it's very important for you. Compound sentences, very important, lesson 5. Lesson 6, sentences with adjective clauses, very important. Lesson number 7, sentences with noun clauses. Lesson 8, sentences with adverb clauses. Lesson 9, sentences with multiple clauses. I think these are all very, very helpful for helping you learn how to synthesize ideas. Yeah, so here, let me just give you an example of how you can take notes during the integrated writing in a way that will make it easier for you to combine the information, ultimately summarize it and synthesize it, even paraphrase it. So let's say you read a reading passage talking about the dangers of nuclear energy. And then the listening passage gives an example. A nuclear accident in the former USSR, Soviet Union, right? So then you then have to put, okay, what's some of the examples, what supporting information does the reading passage give to illustrate dangers of nuclear energy? You want to put these here. And then if the lecture gives an example of a nuclear accident in the former USSR, then you list some of the supporting information that relates to that. Now the next thing is to begin, you have to include some type of introduction that will synthesize the main point from the reading and the main point from the listening passage. So then you'll say, like this, the reading passage discusses and then the listening passage gives an example to further You see what I'm saying here? So now let's take away what we did. You notice how I used a compound sentence. I used the word and I stated I think the reading passage discusses about the dangers of nuclear energy, and the listening passage gives an example of the dangers of nuclear energy to further illustrate the concept. So now we can see we've now connected the main idea from the reading and the listening passage together. That's why I referred you to the grammar part of my course, specifically on the lesson dealing with compound sentences. You have to know how to form compound and complex sentences if of course, you want to synthesize ideas. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, to help you with this idea, I do have, I think, in the writing section of my course, a lesson that's going to help you with this. So hold on, let me go. Let's take a look at this for just a minute. So now we're going to writing here. This is a good one here. Check out this lesson if you haven't already. Writing lesson number 8, how to make your writing more coherent. I think that's going to be useful. This one, probably lesson number 11, 10 questions and answers about TOEFL IBT integrated writing. Check out that lesson. Also lesson number 12, quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing during the integrated writing task. This is also, I think, a good lesson to help you with, well, what it says, quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing. So you can get some good information there too. Now this question though, paraphrase is not easy. So let's see if we can figure out exactly what a paraphrase means. So typically, you have to, I'm going to say, using your own vocabulary and grammar, you rewrite someone else's ideas in roughly the same number of words. That is pretty much the definition. You can't get any more basic than that. This is it. So now, to help you with paraphrase, then the question is, what are some of the tools or skills you need in order to effectively paraphrase other people's ideas? You notice how I said using your own vocabulary and grammar, you rewrite someone else's ideas in roughly the same number of words. This is why a paraphrase is different from a summary. When you're summarizing something, you re-explain the idea not in roughly the same number of words, but you take something and you condense it to a much, much, much smaller format. You see what I'm saying, John? So let's say you got an article that's 3 or 4 minutes, 3 or 4 pages long. If you summarize it, you're going to condense it to maybe a paragraph, maybe half a page or something. So really, in order to do well with paraphrase, you have to have good vocabulary and grammar. So I've already given you some suggestions on what you can do to improve your grammar. Right? I went directly to my website. I showed you specific lessons you can work on. So you also need to work on your vocabulary. Vocabulary is very important if you want to paraphrase someone else's ideas. So what should you do? Go to step 1. Supersize your vocabulary. Notice how it says 8 weeks recommended study time. It'll probably take you a couple of weeks. It'll take you a couple of weeks to really get that. Okay, so my recommendation here is, first of all, lesson number 3, vocabulary ebook, a 200 basic TOEFL words. This is great. You need to go through that book, master those words. That will greatly help your ability to paraphrase other people's ideas. But we're not done yet. Lesson number 4, vocabulary list of 500 words, A through E. Go through the list, learn the words. I will tell you how to do it. You can start taking all of these practice tests, even the final exam. Once you score right around 85% on the final exam, that means you know the words pretty well. Then go to lesson number 5. Vocabulary list of 500 words again, E through P. Lesson number 6 is P through Z. So here, these are all great lessons for you to help you improve your vocabulary. So going back to your question, if you want to improve paraphrase, it's really a combination of improving both your vocabulary and your grammar. And then, of course, keep taking writing practice tests on my website. That's why I have 43 integrated writing practice tests. I want to give my students a lot of practice so they can work on solving their writing skills. The good news for you is you say, I found lots of problems in taking notes. You're now discovering what some of your weaknesses are. And my friend, that is a good sign. That is an excellent position for you to be in, because how can you solve a problem if you don't know that you have it? See, a lot of students, they have 70, 71 in the TOEFL. They want to get 100 in 1 or 2 or 3 months. The question is, though, that's probably not a good idea, because a student who's scoring in the 70s on the IBT TOEFL exam, they have many language problems they have to solve, and it's going to take time. They don't even know what half of those problems are. But those problems are causing their TOEFL score to be lower, and they will not get higher on the TOEFL until they solve those problems. It isn't just about guessing and learning the tips and tricks and the strategies for the TOEFL. No, it's about solving real language problems. And I think paraphrase, synthesize, and summarize are very important. These are great academic skills. They will become very important for you if you need English for academic purposes, especially when you need to write research papers and analytical essays and such, because you have to be good in these areas if you want to do that kind of writing. So this is very important, not just for TOEFL, but for academic English language proficiency in general. All right, John, so now you know. I'm just giving you my 2 cents. So I've given you some information about taking notes. I've explained a little bit about summarizing, about synthesizing, and also about paraphrasing. And don't forget, remember, it's all about how you organize your notes for the TOEFL IBT exam. Even when you're doing the speaking section of the exam, you should organize your notes similar to what you see here, especially if you have a reading and listening passage. For example, you have integrated speaking task number 3 and number 4. You see what I'm saying? Both of those involve some kind of reading passage and some kind of lecture. So you have to be very good at organizing things. And then once you get to integrated speaking task number 5 and 6, you'll hear some type of conversation or listening passage, and then you have to be able to organize it again in note form. And believe it or not, John, you should be taking notes even during the reading section of the TOEFL IBT exam. And this, my friend, these are the answers to the questions that you asked me in this email. All right, thank you, sir.